1776 up in here.
1776 will commence again.
All right, Epstein's dead, and everybody's got the world's biggest Alex Joner. Holy shit! Somebody walked into the cell, and what did they find? So, okay, usually we reserve the DRT title for the execution of a bad guy by a good guy with a gun when an armed citizen. Nobody was surprised that Epstein got suicided. Nobody. Frickin' tub of guts Cenk Uyghur thinks the Clintons did it.
It is actually.
Nobody is surprised.
We are live, I presume?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, I mean, the only positive development that's come from this Epstein alleged suicide is that it's actually, for once, united the right and the left in everyone calling this bullshit.
Yeah, even Alexandria Ocasio Big Tits
I actually agree with AOC for once.
I didn't think it could happen, but the occasional cortex has struck.
Mm-hmm. Well,
okay, all jokes aside, I'm just going to get serious for a second.
Please.
Ever since about 10 o'clock on Saturday morning, when I first happened to check Drudge and saw the headline, I've been in a panic. Like, the joke about an Alex Joner, like, at this point, what conspiracy theory is out of bounds? Because, well, I'll just jump into it. I have been to jail. And I don't mean I've been to prison like Epstein was in prison. I just mean I've been to jail. I was there for about 3 weeks because I decided to date a stripper and go on probation and make a whole lot of bad life decisions that a young 20-something-year-old guy might make if he was dating a stripper and whatnot. And I ended up in DeKalb County's finest hotel on the 7th floor in their overflow wing. And I could not have committed suicide. I couldn't have done it. It would have been impossible. And this is just jail. This is not prison. This is not prison on suicide watch. And when I was checked into jail, they brought me in, cuffed. They put me in a room. They took the cuffs off. I sat in this room for an extended period of time. And then they brought me into a second room where I stripped all the way down, was given an alternate uniform to wear. And then I was brought into a third room that led into a corridor to the elevator. All of this is guarded by mag locks, by the way. I ride the elevator, I go up, I'm taken to a fourth room, and then I'm eventually put into a fifth room. And that fifth room literally had everything in it bolted to the floor. I didn't have a sheet on my bed. I had something that passed for a blanket. My pillow was literally sewn to what passed for a mattress. I mean, maybe I could have filed down my toothbrush and stabbed myself in the throat. Maybe I could have sailor dived off the top bunk and tried to break my own skull. But even the trays they served us our food on were made of such light plastic. If you had hit another person with them, they would have shattered. And even down to the point to where if you wanted to shave, like you had to check out a razor and you had to turn it back in or they wouldn't give you your next meal. So just from my own personal experience.
Wait. So you're telling me that if you retained the tools, the means to cut yourself to death, then in order to incentivize you not cutting yourself to death, they threatened to starve you to death.
Seriously, and look, I realize that sounds like a joke, okay? But but
No,
they
it
would do
sounds
a
like socialized medicine.
yeah, it does. But they would do a call every morning for the people that had the opportunity to go before a judge. And when they did that call, those guys were issued razors in case they wanted to shave. And if those guys did not turn those razors back in, they were not allowed to go before the judge to see if they could get the flip out of jail. And again, I'm talking about like misdemeanor level probation violation because I was partying with a stripper type stuff. Not not I'm literally the hottest commodity in the legal sense in the country, possibly the planet, locked down in a federal facility in New York City. Like they took their security this far. So the fact that Epstein would even have the opportunity to just wantonly kill himself, like that blows my mind. And the guy is supposed to be some like mathematical genius, like 150 plus IQ and all these things. Yeah, I suppose maybe Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory figured out the 1 in 1,000 way he could commit suicide. But I mean, like, really? Really?
Well, so just to interrupt you for a moment because we're just going too far down the jail cell path here. But I've spent one night in jail. But I have spent, it might surprise you, but I have spent a total of 45 days in mental institutions. And I can tell you,
Oh, we're not surprised.
there are no right angles. You can't kill yourself. It's specifically designed so you can't kill yourself. And the fact that Epstein supposedly committed suicide in a cell where he was already on suicide watch, okay, where he had already attempted suicide once before, where he's on suicide watch protocol, where basically
Attempted suicide.
he wears is literally made of paper so that it cannot be fashioned into anything. Where there are no sharp edges or right angles. And where apparently the cameras were all disabled just at that right window of opportunity for something to happen to him. And this taking place after he was already attacked, when he was put in a cell with a guy named Tatalia, who literally like looks and sounds like an extra from a Godfather movie.
Yeah.
Like,
No, not Natalia. Tartaglione.
Tartaglione. Yeah,
Tartaglione.
yeah.
I mean,
How many Italian consonants can you fit in?
He was put in prison with a crooked mob cop. I mean, like, come on. That's
a crooked mob cop who was arrested. This is just, I mean, this is just too good.
yeah.
A crooked mob cop from Hillary Clinton's district in New York named Tartaglione, who
Yep.
was arrested for a quadruple homicide, which was discovered in conjunction with the investigation of his involvement running a cocaine distribution ring.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the guy screams Clinton crime family.
They tried to kill Epstein once already, and then this time they were successful.
So that's one of the articles that I pulled up is Epstein on suicide watch. Okay, this is from the 25th of July, right? Epstein on suicide watch after accused sex trafficker is found injured in New York jail. Now, here's the thing. This incident was never actually called a suicide. It was never ruled a suicide or anything. There were some of the right people made it a point to refer to it as a suicide attempt. Right? But the story, this is basically it. Epstein, who was arrested in, skipping over the accused sex trafficker, was on the floor of his cell in a fetal position when he was discovered. Sources told NBC he was semi-conscious and had marks on his neck when he was found. Nothing about there being a noose in the room or any kind of instrument used. Just, 15 men on a dead man's chest, dead and be damned, and the rest gone with. 10 of the crew had the murder mark, and Cookie's throat was marked belike it had been gripped by fingers 10. Somebody tried to murder his ass.
Yeah. No, it was obvious. I mean, you don't put HBI in a cell with a known violent criminal. That's who takes money to do anything. No, you don't.
Sure
You
you
would never.
do.
You would never. Yeah. I mean, you do it.
Apparently, it's exactly what you do.
It's like. So, I mean, the big questions at this point is this is kind of a watershed moment because even normies get this shit. You know what I mean? Like
No, that's
the
exactly
Clintons,
what I want to talk about too.
the Clintons' social media accounts have just been peppered with like nothing but Hillary body count or Clinton body count style memes. You know what I mean? Like even normies get this one. That it's left, right, and in the middle. Everybody understands what happened, and I think it's really dangerous because you're looking at like a breakdown in trust in institutions. I mean, if we already knew this, okay, we already know that the FBI can't be trusted. I mean, anyone who's paid attention since like that 1980s Senate commission on the CIA, everyone knows the CIA can't be trusted. But I mean, it's really filtering down just to the average, the average Netflix watching slob. Like they know it's a game at this point. So we're living in a society where trust in institutions that are supposed to be, unimpeachable, are steadily degrading. And what is this going to mean going forward? Like a continual breakdown in civic respect, civic institutions. Nothing good comes of this. Like these ruling class people, yeah, I know, like Epstein was the only one indicted in this case. They may or may not go after Maxwell, that E. Maxwell, whatever his mistress, the one whose father was Mossad. But anyone with eyes to see should see that Epstein was an asset for a foreign power, probably working with at least one, possibly probably two intelligence agencies as running a honeypot to blackmail people. The man has no work records, so to speak, for the last 10 years. All he does is video and blackmail people and develop dossiers on people that can be used to leverage the most powerful people on the planet.
Yeah,
It's
Prince Andrew.
No laughing matter. It is no laughing matter.
Yeah, Prince Andrew. Let me fly you down to my tropical island.
Yes,
This super hottie is going to give you a massage, and we're going to drink 50-year-old scotch, and we're going to smoke marijuana that shouldn't even exist. And this super hottie is going to take you into a back bedroom. And then around 11 o'clock the next morning, when you wake up, oh yeah, by the way, that bee gibbers you got last night, yeah, that girl was 16, and I've got it on video. Now let's have a conversation.
They're too polite to say that. It would already be understood. It would already be understood. And I guarantee the stuff they're smoking would be some one-hit quitter Supremo, Cameron. Like it's not even funny.
Son, I ain't met the joint that I can't take two pulls off of yet.
Well, okay then. So anyway.
Okay, Lucas. You know what? Lucas is popping up in the thread. So
that's a good. I understand. I agree. I saw the photos. You saw the photos of the body they pushed out on the gurney. Now it might just be a result of there are hundreds of muscles in the face. It might just be a result of all of those muscles slackening when the body actually dies. But I mean, the ears don't look the same. The brow doesn't really look the same. Like it looks like a pretty good body double, but it doesn't look exactly like Epstein. But it looks close enough like him where it's really hard to say that there was a body double. I mean, if the guy was, and I believe he was, I firmly believe that he was an asset for at least two intelligence agencies. I believe it is possible that, yes, he would be spirited out of the country from a state sponsor, and he would be living a quiet life where he would not make any public appearances. I believe that's entirely possible. Can I prove it? No, I can't, and I don't really need to,
And you
because
never will.
there's so much that's just laughably false.
The
The entire premise of what's happened here. That there's really no need to go down that kind of conspiratorial trail. You know what I mean?
right, and
The situation stinks bad.
in 20 or 30 years, the Epstein suicide is going to be talked about the same way people talk about the grassy knoll, right?
Yeah.
And I mean that to I mean that claim to be categorically true, with absolutely no concern as to what evidence surfaces in the coming weeks, because there will be more revelations, there will be more evidence presented about this and that, there will be more claims presented to bolster the claim that it was a suicide. There will be more evidence presented to refute the claim that that he committed suicide. There will be evidence. Some of it will be clearly fabricated. Some of it will be hard to argue with or ignore.
Yep.
Of the connection to the murder of Epstein by any number of a broad, sweeping cabal of wealthy power elites.
Cabal is the correct one. That's exactly what they are.
Obviously.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for Joe Scarborough. So I'm waiting for Joe Scarborough to tell me that Russia did it. You know.
Here's why. Okay, real quick. Tim Pool said a little something about that, and I think Tim's right. I've heard a lot of people give Scarborough a hard time about saying the Russians did it, but what he said was, this stuff is happening. This stuff is happening. It sounds like ... or dare I say it ... Russia, and he's gotten a lot of guff for saying, "Oh yeah, the Russians killed Epstein." And Tim Pool pointed out, I think Pool's right. I think what Scarborough was saying was, this sounds like something the Russians would do. This sounds like a mafioso type hit. I don't think he was trying to say the Russians did it.
Epstein is something that the Russians. Remember, the KGB were the masters of the honeypot. Okay.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, Epstein is like a KGB wet dream. Okay, like what he was doing.
Were.
Yes.
Are you kidding? They still. Mario, you remember this. The army still has a problem with privates buying Russian mail-order brides.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, and wasn't it a Russian operative that met with Don Jr. About adopting Russian babies, and it turned out, oh, I've got dirt on Clinton, and then, well, no, actually, we just want to set you up.
Yeah, it was the Kremlin suka. That's on Skaya.
I think Lucas touches on something, because if we throw away the fact that Epstein somehow managed to magically commit suicide in near impossible conditions, there are three possibilities. Everything was set up so that he could commit suicide, and he was encouraged to do so. Correct. He was outright murdered, or he was swapped out, and some bum from New York City streets got the biggest promotion of his life. And what's crazy is,
I think you're looking at the Kobayashi Maru of suicides. And how do you cheat when it's impossible to suicide yourself?
Well, Captain Kirk answered that question. You reprogram the simulation so it's possible to win.
Right. You turn off all the cameras and you tell the guards to leave.
Damn, son.
Reprogram the simulation.
I would definitely say that whoever the correctional officers, on duty at the time, they should be fearful every time they step inside of a vehicle for the next month, because they're prime candidates for a tragic car accident.
Yes.
Oh, you mean like Princess Diana having a wreck in a tunnel with her boyfriend, so that the royal family is no longer embarrassed? Hey, wasn't there a member of the royal family that was implicated here?
That was a justified honor killing, but that's a different topic.
Wow,
Bruce, boost your mic.
Long, Mario.
about
Hair's
shame.
getting long, Mario. Should I mail you a towel?
We're not going. We're not going. Princess. Are you kidding me? Like I haven't even talked about Princess Di since I was in high school. Enough.
Look,
So,
I was just
okay.
making a point.
And I was
Yeah.
making a joke. Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing that I find really interesting and probably most concerning.
Boost your game, Chris.
Huh?
Boost your game.
Really?
They can't hear you.
Damn.
He's using industry lingo that not everyone understands. Wow. Wow.
Okay. Source 2. That is
Mario, say something offensive while he's fixing his microphone.
You don't want me to do that. remember, I
Let me know how that's coming.
I am the anthropomorphic red flag. Okay, I need to behave myself. I'm
let
on.
me know how this is coming through to you.
You sound fine to us. You sound weak on the stream. That's what the problem is.
That's what I've noticed.
So, hey, Rod, as soon as you catch up to us in the stream, let me know whether or not I'm coming through to you. I just cranked it up by a full 1.5 decibels. But anyway, so let me get around to this. The thing about the Epstein, about this particular death is leading up to it, everybody, left and right side of the aisle, have been basically only Travis Shedd thinks it was legitimately a suicide. And I mean, everybody else has been expecting this to happen for well over a month now, since Epstein was incarcerated. The circumstances around it, there's already plenty of shady shit going on around it. We mentioned the camera, we mentioned the guards being out of place. Some reports say that he was on suicide watch. Some say that he had just come off of suicide watch, which if the latter is the case, I would find that even more conspicuous. I would find that to point even more aggressively toward a serious problem. Damn, Rod says no change. All right, you two talk about stuff for a minute. I'm going to hook up a better microphone and see if it makes the difference. Go.
Well, for me, it's and I know Cameron, you mentioned this the other night. It's a serious black pill. Like, I mean, this is real. This is reality comes at you fast, bro. It's what you feared. It's what you feared. Like, you really are living on a nightmare planet where there is no justice, where the ruling class will do whatever they want, and they'll shove it right in your face, and they just don't even care anymore. They're not even trying, bro. They're not even trying.
No, the thing, and the reason why I mentioned my personal experience in jail in the beginning of it, in the beginning of the broadcast, was I really was extremely upset. Like, I expected Epstein to be dead long before he ever made it to trial, because, I mean, all he had to do was, testify in open court, and that was a ball game for God knows how many bankers, scientists, CEOs, princes, governors like Bill Richardson, whatever. I mean, I didn't see any way where he survived to go to trial. And yet, it's sort of like knowing that your grandmother has cancer. You know she's sick. You know she's going to die. And then she dies. And you're still horrified. You're unprepared for the shock of it. Because it's not actually what you wanted. And let me be real clear. I'll bet being dead. I will. That's good stuff right there.
No, I can't.
Pedos can die.
This one, not this one. No.
But yeah, that's I take your point, Mario. This one, we needed him to live. We needed him to get a sweetheart deal where he got out of prison in 5 or 10 years and he actually was able to have a few years of his life left with his money in exile because he could have burned everything to the ground.
Okay, so now how do I sound?
You sound different to me.
You sound different. You sound just as good to us. The question is, how does it translate to the audience?
Yeah, and it's going to take the audience a minute to catch up behind me, so...
Well, Cameron, I wanted to add just a little point, and you might be surprised by this. I mean, you know, I've been pretty critical of the MAGA movement since about 2017, where I saw pretty much since Bannon left, I've had this sinking feeling in my heart about the MAGA movement. But on this one, I actually was genuinely shocked. I thought that there was no way that, like, the Trump administration, the Trump DOJ would let this happen. I mean, this was so important. Like, you want to talk about drain the swamp? Epstein would have been the key. Epstein would have been a key to
He would have been the drain plug.
Epstein was the key to destroying this evil empire that's held bureaucratic control for a decade, like spanning 3 presidents.
And not just in our country, the whole world over.
Global. I mean, this was, incredibly demoralizing. I mean, if I would have assumed that Trump would understand the magnitude of this, I mean, I would have kept him in a freaking, dog kennel in the Oval Office. Like, it's that important.
Yeah. And this is where it gets into the super spooky territory for me. What happens when he still turns up dead?
Well,
I mean,
at least you'd be able to rule out. If now it's Trump body count. I don't know. It would mean that a Secret Service agent was paid off.
No, I don't buy the Trump body count narrative. I still think that Trump is the antithesis.
The day before Epstein was Hillaried. God bless that guy from HUD who came out and said it. Top Bance. But yeah, the day before there was a big document dump on the case, and it was like multiple girls had said that Trump was sometimes at parties, but Trump never fucked any of the girls. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. There's no reason for Trump to kill the guy, and honestly, there's no reason even for the Clintons to kill the guy. Everyone knows the Clintons are corrupt. They have no more political capital in the Democratic Party. Okay, they're essentially done. Right. There are people who operate now in the background, and they just basically collect bags of money. Okay, and they can disperse those bags of money secretly to whoever they deem worthy. Okay, probably now with a lot more oversight of the Obama family. But everyone knows about the Clintons. It's the people you didn't know about. They're the ones who had him killed.
You mean like Bill Richardson and Prince Andrew, and I went and I read the list.
Richardson's small fries.
But Richardson is not. He's not the smallest of small fries. This was a man that was a presidential candidate. He was the governor of New Mexico. He's been a contributor for both CNN and Fox News. And I don't know if you remember this from the 2008 campaign, but when he dropped out of the presidential race, it was largely expected that he would endorse Hillary. Right. And he instead endorsed Obama. And James Carville described him as a Judas in that moment. So maybe to you and I, he's not that big of a player. But to them, he was a big player. And let's face it, you take down a Democrat governor, or even a Democrat mayor. Let's say you could take down de Blasio with Epstein's testimony. The Democrats are done as a party for at least a half a decade. So,
yeah,
small player to us.
I agree. It wasn't any one individual probably in particular, but it was the total weight of all those implicated, and the fact that they would have skewed so heavily to the left. to the Democratic Party. It was, the Hagerstown, the Boys Town scandal, the 1980s, which was, took place before the internet. All right, if that had happened today, that would have been the end of the Republican Party. Okay, but I don't know. Lowry, provide some structure, or are we going to move on?
Okay, so here's the concern that I have.
Yeah.
Cameron and I have talked about this a few times. It's the real world. All of a sudden, there are vampires. At what point? Oh yeah. At what point does a normal person? Let's go with zombies, because we'll do the whole zombie apocalypse scenario. So all of a sudden there are actual undead, living dead, freaking zombies. I'm not talking human version of rabies. No shit, living dead zombies. And you encounter one. What does it take for you to believe that what you're encountering is legitimately a zombie? Right? Is actually a supernatural thing, and that there's not some easy rational explanation for it. Well, so let's say that starts to happen. There are some people who will have a much lower tolerance for suspension of disbelief and evidence. So some small percentage of the population will immediately jump to the conclusion that what they see is a zombie. And some other very small percentage of the population will not believe that what they're seeing is a zombie under any circumstances. You can even look at the second season of Walking Dead for an interesting example, where the farmers got all the zombies rounded up.
Yeah, Herschel.
Yeah, Herschel. He's got them all rounded up in the barn because one of them's his wife, and he thinks that he can find a cure. And everybody else believes that's not the case. And in fairness, I haven't watched anything after about season 4 or 5, but in all fairness, I don't think they've ever actually established whether or not it's possible to cure the zombies at some point, at least in the canon of the show. But anyway,
Sidebar.
So there will be people who just immediately accept, holy shit, that's a zombie, and there will be people who will not believe that that is a living dead zombie monster and a legitimate threat to public safety under any circumstances whatsoever. So, as that situation develops, and I am going somewhere with this, I'm not just rambling. As that situation develops, you'll start seeing news reports, and again, some small percentage will immediately accept those news reports as, okay, this is gospel. There are zombies. We need to take care of the zombie problem. And some people will see the news reports and they'll just assume that it's the War of the Worlds broadcast all over again. And there will be
some people will demand that they receive free taxpayer-funded health care.
Yes.
And some people will demand that the zombies become a specially protected class that we have to spend additional money on.
Correct. Some people will declare that there'll be a month set aside for zombie awareness month.
No, that's so wrong. Let Chris finish his point. Let Chris finish his point. That's awful.
ZBGTQ. Anyway, so
some public libraries will host zombie story hour for children.
Magazine says, "Hi, Epstein and Zombies, pedopocalypse." Oh, you must subscribe to this channel because you are a freaking genius. That's the best joke I've heard today. So,
yeah, we'd love to have you on the air. That was funny.
Let me get a little bit further down this particular conversation then. So, as the situation develops and more people actually encounter zombies, what will happen is the threshold for evidence that is required by each individual person will lower some. The more common the zombie appearance, the more people have to deal with it, the more it's reported, the more readily people will accept it. And eventually, all but the most die-hard nutbags will not accept the truth of the threat. Right? So, this is why I'm gonna pop out and say this Epstein suicide may be one of the most catastrophic tipping points in American history. Because what has just occurred is with the circumstances around this suicide being so suspicious. I mean, just so deeply suspicious that basically nobody, except for Travis, is suspicious of anybody making claims that he was suicided by powerful elites. Now, people are making jokes. Hey, Rod, you popped back in. Let me know how the audio is, since I see you in the comments there, as soon as you catch up. So, it's so blatantly suspicious. I mean, you just want to shake somebody and say, are you not, you're just not even trying to hide it anymore, right? You're not even trying to fake it anymore.
It's to summarize everything you said in the last 10 minutes, there's a lot of people out there who yesterday learned for the first time. You know, these are the people who didn't really pay attention, and let's be honest, the people who would actively try to not pay attention to what was going on. Well, those people learned yesterday that, yes, the monsters are real.
Yes.
It's going to have a profound implication.
We just took the standard of evidence required for somebody to soak up a conspiracy theory and run with it, and dramatically lowered it for the entire country.
Mere days, Lowry, after the FBI stated that people who conspiracy theories could be domestic terrorists. Well, there's.
You know what? I'm glad you mentioned that.
Talk about bad timing.
I meant to pull up that article. Because there was something very interesting in that article. Where did that come from?
The internet.
Oh.
But yeah, this is also going to equal that. Okay, here's Mother Jones reporting on it. I think this is where I heard it talked about before. I want to point out something that popped up in the Mother Jones article about it.
That super right-wing white supremacist site, Mother Jones.
White supremacists.
Sorry, it was too easy.
Words.
Yeah, words. I'll say this while Chris is pulling it up. Part of the problem here is I think this universally lowers the threshold for every conspiracy theory ever. If, for example,
that's exactly what I was talking. That's exactly what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If the moon landing on a scale of 1 to 10 was a 10 for conspiracy theories that we never landed on the moon, well, now that's been pulled down to a 9, and it's been pulled down to a 9 forever because we just watched a cheesy James Bond plot play out in front of us, and everybody, again, even Alexandria Ocasio-Big Tits, was like, yeah, that's kind of fishy, isn't it? I mean, like, everybody is like, man, that's weird. A guy on suicide watch managed to commit suicide? Yeah, no, sir, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It just can't square that circle.
Really, this whole plot line is like one of those, like test kind of pilot B movies that Netflix sometimes releases that, it was entirely produced by the Chinese. Where like, it's like, where the plot is like the most contrived, like derivative, like stream of various, obvious Western movies, and the Chinese.
We go from A to B to C.
That's what it is. I mean, it's.
You follow direction very well. Plotline. Scene 1. act
one of those
like
movies. It's one of those movies. It's like one of those plots. One of those scripts are like Jason Statham, just like, fuck it, I'll take a paycheck.
I used to be a swimmer and now I know kung fu. I'll do that movie.
So,
But yeah, we laugh about it. It's lowered the threshold for all conspiracy theories forever.
Clown world, baby. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh, bro.
yeah. So, damn, I can't find that particular piece of the article, but when I read the study the other day, one of the things that it said is one of the things that the FBI study on it said basically there's an increase in people buying into conspiracy theories, and that is a predictable problem that could potentially increase the number of violent incidences, especially as we approach the election. But part of the study was that a major factor contributing to the increase. I can't believe this is what this. A major factor contributing to the increase in the number of people accepting of conspiracy theories, especially revolving around they mentioned QAnon and the deep state conspiracy theories, and then a major factor contributing to people's acceptance is the recent reveals of actual conspiracies.
I don't see it on the screen. Are you on page 130? That's outside my purview.
You should stutter a little more when you make that joke.
I'm sorry, I'm rude. I broke your stream of thought.
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's what it means. They're talking about an increase in people believing in conspiracy theories. That's really a poor way to phrase it. What they don't want to admit is that the American public is losing faith in federal institutions. That's what it means.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, when you okay, just hypothetical scenario. It's World War II, and we catch one of Hitler's, like, one of his top lieutenants. This guy knows at least a little piece about everything that Hitler does. And about a month after we capture this guy, he mysteriously dies in his cell. And yeah, nobody would believe that either. And again, that sounds like something out of a bad, Jason Bourne movie or James Bond movie. But that's what we're staring at. There's so much cognitive dissonance with it. Black Pigeon made this fantastic video where it's like, hey, thanks for giving the entire world a red pill. Good job, Democrats.
Exactly. You're talking about like Eichmann, and if he had died in his prison cell, he obviously, like, Nebraskan Mennonites got to him first. Okay. They clean up.
Ooh, that's a deep cut for Mario. Thank you, people. Google everything he just said.
He has a deep drawer and an efficient retrieval mechanism.
No, strike that. Correct. Don't Google what Mario just said. Duck, go. What Mario just said.
Bing it.
Bing it. No, that's a Bill Gates. Piss on that.
No, they pay me.
I'm wearing a foil hat next episode. I don't care. All right.
Oh, yeah, the tinfoil hat.
Look, speaking of the foil hat, if there's a mass shooting before next Saturday morning, I'm going off the grid.
Yeah, they've got to do something. I think Drudge is baiting them. Like some of the other publications have moved on, but you still got like 13 stories in red text at the top of Drudge's feed. Drudge is baiting them. He wants that shooting. I mean,
Okay, so we get that shooting, and what happens? Does the American public go, man, it sure is weird that this super shiny thing showed up out of nowhere, and then miraculously, a thing that's even more slightly shiny showed up over here? Or they go, whoop, squirrel. I mean, what's more likely at this point?
It's got to be like, I don't think they can play like the white supremacist angle like on this one. That would be too obvious. It's got to be like a minority on minority shooting. That just happens to be really bad.
You mean you think that's going to get reported? Because I don't. Dude, no. Look, the Democrats are the original racist. Even though they value all of our lives as shit,
There was that
they
90
value the white life slightly higher than the colored life.
You're right.
So if one brown guy kills a bunch of other brown guys, they don't care. Man, that's a net positive to them.
we all knew about. I mean, we all knew about Dylan Roof and the heinous act he committed in that black church in South Carolina, but and that was we heard about that for weeks, but they didn't report on the Nigerian immigrant who slaughtered white people in a church in Tennessee. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you both a question I briefly asked Chris. And since I asked him this question, I've actually expanded this question in my mind somewhat. The original question that I asked was, is this a message to the president? Even you are not safe. We can get a guy locked down in Supermax. We can get you. And since I first asked that question, I almost kind of wondered, maybe I'm thinking about this in too small of a scale. What if it means we can get you, Mario, can get you, Chris, can get you, Cameron, we can get any of you, period. Don't you dare have all the answers. Don't you dare.
I think this is clearly an act of desperation. I think they really, 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 heavily weighed the pros and cons of this, and they knew that no matter how bad the shitstorm, and no matter how bad, the country's ability to suspend disbelief, like how that would evaporate within seconds of this happening, they knew that the alternative was worse, so they did it anyway.
So
Desperation.
So even though they knew there was going to be a shitstorm for this, they calculated the odds and they said, this is the shitstorm we know versus the shitstorm we don't know, and we're going to roll the dice.
Correct.
And by the way, magazine, I think whoever thought of the Jussie Smollett hoax probably thought of this plan too while smoking crack. This is all just a distraction. Nobody talks about Soros or anyone still in power. Bravo, sir. Or ma'am, whoever you are.
We're actually more than happy to assume your gender here. But frankly, with a name like Magazine, we're just guessing. Well, guys, I'm about out. I think I pretty much covered what I wanted to get into with my concern about lowering the threshold on suspension of disbelief. Basically, you just increase the number of people that don't believe we landed on the moon by 30%.
Yeah, what conspiracy theory is out of bounds at this point? I mean, the lizard people, the clockwork elves, I mean, I'm sorry, we live in a world where all of a sudden Alex Jones is a lot saner.
Oh yeah, I was hoping someone would say it. Alex Jones is basically. So this is what this is. This is the type of normally you talk about an Overton shift in macro political scales or whatever. But this is one of those miniature. This is one of those meta, Overton window shifts just in public perception where. On a Venn diagram, Alex Jones just fell completely within the acceptable realm of belief because of this. I've always loved Alex Jones. I think the man's a hero, but not everyone likes him. But yeah.
Okay.
Alex Jones probably feels pretty damn good right now.
Here's the thing about Alex Jones. I've just recently, just like the last couple days, I've gone back and re-listened to. So this will be twice I've listened to the Joe Rogan
best Joe Rogan
that
podcast ever.
Masterpiece.
Well, so one of the big things about Alex Jones that turns people off, it's not just this magazine has a baby maker and tatas. Well, good for you, Sunshine. We hope we put them to good use.
Wow.
I mean,
am I the only one that got turned on by that?
Mario in the middle there is the least productive of the three of us because he only has he has a slightly smaller regiment of autonomously produced killing machines.
Chris and I've got a full basketball court, baby.
We're coming for you, baby. Anyway, so Alex Jones, the thing that turns people off is he speaks so very... He slides down detours and rabbit holes so much that he forgets what he's even talking about. And that was a big problem all throughout the Joe Rogan episode. He'd be talking about the Clockwork Elves, and then all of a sudden he's talking about his dad working for this hospital, and there's clearly a relationship in the conversation because his dad he's involved with DARPA, and that's how the generals started taking the psilocybin and hallucinating so that they could... And here's the thing. Some of the stuff that he was talking about in that episode, the one that most caught my attention, and this is why I just went back and re-listened to the episode the other day, and this is before the Epstein suicide yesterday. I'd gone back to start listening to it because there have been multiple credible academic magazines posting reports about half human, half pig, or half human, half sheep, human-animal hybrid clones being produced in China and Japan in a very real way. And that was... God, I
freaking humanoids!
I want to say that the freaking humanoids were... I thought, or maybe I just hoped, were one of the least credible conspiracies that he brought up in that particular podcast. And all of a sudden, nope, here you go. And I'm like, no, he can't be right about this shit because that means I have to wonder about everything else. I have to wonder
if I need to get some DMT and go into the woods and see what happens.
By shotgun.
Wait till they take the Bogdanorf pill.
Okay, for real, before we kill this, I want to ask you guys a question. We're throwing away the somehow Epstein magically figured out a way to commit suicide theory.
Yeah, I'd still buy it.
Okay, that leaves three remaining theories. Epstein was given the opportunity and the convenience of being allowed to commit suicide. Epstein was straight up murdered. Or Epstein was swapped out for a body double from some bum on New York City streets. Which one of the three do you gentlemen think that it is?
The only thing that I have any relative certainty on is I'm like 99% sure that he didn't commit suicide. That's as far as I can commit to. I'm
gonna Occam's razor that and say he was just straight up killed, because this was a man. So this was a man who had legal options. Okay, like the guy's a billionaire.
Yes.
He could have fought this for a long time.
There's always hope for him. He's just gotta wait. He's just gotta wait for like a mistrial. He's gotta wait for the lawyers to fuck up. He's gotta wait for to do something.
Or he's got to dangle the right carrot.
Correct. Like the man's a sociopath. Like, think about him. He's like in that jail cell. He had to be at least somewhat excited. because he's sitting with his back to the wall and like high stakes poker, and he can just flip chips any which way he wants. You know what I mean? That had to be incredibly exciting for a sociopath like him.
Yeah, he didn't feel shame.
Why would he kill himself?
Yeah, that's a conversation that Cameron and I were having earlier.
I mean, like, give me a break.
Well, the man's a nearly 70-year-old. If the evidence is to be believed, serial pedophile.
Well, there's a preponderance of evidence, so yes, I believe it.
Yeah. So, I mean, this man, he's never felt shame. He doesn't have the circuitry for it.
Sociopath.
And I'm glad you said Occam's razor. Tim Pool did a video. He's actually done like 4 or 5 videos since the news broke about it, and a couple of them have actually been interviews with other people. One of the things I think it was best put here, under almost any other possible circumstances that one could imagine, it would be easy to dismiss the conspiracy theories around Epstein by simply saying Occam's razor says that the simplest solution is that he killed himself, and so that's probably what happened. But just like what we just went over, and this
that's
is
not the simplest solution, though.
Well, hang on. Just this is what Tim Pool said, and I'm saying I think he's right. Under normal circumstances, Occam's razor would say that if it looks like a suicide and it quacks like a suicide, then duck quacks don't echo it was a suicide. Thank you. But just like we just laid out, the man has nearly unlimited resources. Like my Uncle Bobo used to say, why do divorces cost so much? Because they're worth it. Wait, no. It was the other thing he said. How much justice can a poor man get? Well, as much as he can afford, son. Well, yeah, Epstein can buy a shitload of justice. He can buy all of it. So this is a man who had options, resources. He could very much have, at a minimum, staved off the development of the prosecution for, the last 20, 30 years that he might have survived on his own. Serial pedophile, the preponderance of evidence guarantees that he's a serial pedophile and essentially a sociopath. The idea that some of the claims have been that, he was bad conditions. He used to live in a better life, and he's been caught out as a pedophile now, so he probably feels shame. No, Travis, he doesn't feel shame. Travis, I'm telling you, brother, you're a beautiful human being, but Epstein doesn't feel shame. If he
you need to understand,
he doesn't feel anything now.
Understand what a psychopath is. They are not capable of empathy. They can't feel shame because they can't view themselves through the eyes of others.
Yes. If I'm going to do something...
What are we even talking about? The guards were sent on break and they turned the cameras off, guys. What are we talking about?
But that's my point. That is exactly my point. That under any other circumstances, the Occam's razor solution would be that it was obviously a suicide because it's the simplest solution. But all the other evidence says no. Occam's razor in this case, nigh uniquely, all but guarantees that this was a murder.
Guaranteed foul play.
Or at the very least, it was a coerced suicide. Let's go ahead and say, okay, maybe he actually put the noose around his own neck and did it himself, but he didn't choose to do that.
No.
It's highly improbable that he made that decision on his own. And that's all I've got for you guys. And it is 2100 in about 12 seconds. So I'm going to wrap it right there. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for watching. We actually had a pretty good audience tonight. I apologize.
I would like to bring up one point.
Go ahead.
That was just kind of left earlier. You guys spoke of, my inferior progeny in comparison to yours. Well, my daughters are beautiful, and your sons will pay a high price one day.
My children are giants.
Oh shit. Sub video. Everybody.
I have an over 5 foot tall 9-year-old. My children are enormous. They won't have to pay high prices. They will just commandeer resources. And ladies and gentlemen, with that...
And in the next episode of Brushfire Mind, Larry talks about his children enslaving my children. This is
Yes.
You
have beautiful daughters, Mario, but they're slight.
Sorry, they got a crazy ass father. They'll be all right.
Anyway, okay. So until next week,
it got weird. Weird.
We'll see y'all. We'll see y'all tomorrow morning, somewhere between 06 and 06:30, for Me More Monday. And until then, remember, if you build a man a fire, you'll keep him warm for the evening. But if you set a man on fire, it was a Clinton murder conspiracy. Good night.